Brace yourself for the ultimate test, the ABSA Off-Road Championship, and fast-track yourself through the race with vehicle and asset finance from ABSA. Today, tomorrow, together. Go!
The ABSA Off-Road Championship presents the 2006 African Heritage Cross Country Rally. The host town of Polokwane was ready and primed to welcome the overseas drivers and local competitors who were contesting the 2006 African Heritage Cross Country World Cup. They included the Nissan pairs Sandok Kiz and Peter Czegledi from Hungary, and Moscow's Sergei Shmakov and Konstantin Mesheryakov. The African Heritage was to be contested over around 800 kilometers over 3 days, and the dry, dusty and rocky conditions around the Eysterbach resort outside Polokwane was due to test the drivers, vehicles and crews to the limit, and then back again. Clerk of the course himself, a former national champion, Piet Swanepoel, briefed the drivers, and with that worried look on his face, it seemed as if he would have to take on the Bushveld as well. Three-time champ Hannes Grobler came and checked out his stablemate Kiz's car, and the Nissan hardbody certainly came up to his exacting standards. In the other Japanese stable, Mark Grenier and Chris Birkin in the easily distinguishable red, green and white on the Castrol Toyota team had their eye on a South African win.
I think today is going to be quite tough. It's quite chilly out there, and apparently the route is very tight and twisty, so we'll have to take it one step at a time and see what today brings us.
The twosome had some big plans for the race.
Yeah, it's essential for us to get as many Ks in as possible. You know, at the end of the day, we've got a bit of a catch-up game to go, but I think you know, this will be a good base for us to work off of and give us some information.
The Cries were ready for some red-hot action despite the icy cold winter's morning on day one.
Hey, we're starting off ice cold here. It's Eysterbach is extremely cold this morning, and it's probably going to be that cold for the whole day. So we're going to make sure we put on a lot of warm clothes, overalls, and take enough to eat with us. And looking forward to the day. They've given us navigation on GPS. So it's the first South African race locally that we have GPS allowance. And that will in some way make it a bit easier, although the GPS doesn't show you which direction you must go, it just shows you the route. So if you're going in the wrong way, then you've got a problem. But there's a way around it. You must just know where the marshal points are, and then the arrow will show you which way to go.
If only it was that easy. For the Century Property Development team, their brand new Nissan Navara would be a warm haven out there.
Yeah, it's nice and cold this morning, so we're looking forward to getting going in the car. It'll be nice and warm inside. But I think we're just going to take it easy for today. It's the first time ever out in this car, and apparently quite a tight and technical route, so we're going to enjoy it.
For Naim Mosaji in the TTR Racing Jimco, it was also our first time out.
Well, it's actually Jimco, but it's our first racing, so we're actually just going testing. And we're learning the car because I've only done about 20 kilos so far. So this is basically just to get used to the car and preparing for the main race Saturday. So we're just going to take it easy and go at a decent pace.
And that main race Naim was targeting was the Ford Motorrad 400, which was due to start on the Saturday. But first, on the Thursday, it was the start of the 2006 African Heritage Cross Country, and the lads were off to a few fast starts. Even though it was as cold as Russia, Shmakov clearly missed the snow of his home country and wrong-slotted early on. Clearly, the tall elephant grass was not as easy as the driven white snow. While Kiz and Czegledi sped by to take first place. But the water jump also got them worried, and they bypassed. Grenier and Birkin sped through with no worries. While Musaji with Rehan Vodjana riding shotgun showed scant respect for the H2O. And Corbett and his co-driver Jean Moore slowed down just enough to acknowledge that there was some wet stuff there. The marking out on the route left a little to be desired, and the navigators were under pressure to come up with the right answers. The Hungarian pairing was stuck early on, until the Russian moved past. The old riverbed was treacherous and could have meant getting stuck. It took a healthy measure of speed and cunning to get it just right. For the space frame vehicles, though, it was a no-brainer, and they enjoyed the loose sand and the level area to build up some speed. The Cries did just that. It was not a bridge too far for the Toyota and the Nissan as they raced side by side over the first day's long stretch. The ZIL buggy of the Moscovites was leading the T1 class championship in the 06 FIA Cross Country World Cup and were third in the overall standings. Therefore, a win here would have meant an awful lot to their title aspirations. For Musaji and Bodiana in Class A, their first outing in the Jimco was solid, and they were using it as time to get to know the car ahead of the last 4 races in the 2006 ABSA Off-Road Championship. The 2 experienced European racers from the RTL Motorsport Club are Paris, Dakar and FIA cross-country veterans, and even though they admitted that the conditions were very different for them, they were going well. Cronje also revelled in these circumstances, as did Corbett. The father and son pairing, Jan and Hendrik Kraai in the Keymax Property Development BAT, were putting together a solid opening day and were also trying to conserve the car at the same time. As for the slightly awkward-looking ZIL, the Russians were slowly getting to grips with the Limpopo surfaces and were piling on the pace. The 2 Nissans were shadowing each other every step of the way, in the first 2 places and trading blows. Cronje, who is currently racing well on the local rally circuit in South Africa, is developing his off-road skills in leaps and bounds, and the experience of Birkin in the jump seat is also doing him the world of good. The Keymax lads were firmly ensconced in 4th place. The Russians had clearly picked up an argument with the Limpopo Rock, and the resultant loss was a front right wheel that needed some serious realignment. Corbett and Moore were enjoying their first outing in the brand spanking new Navara. They were having a ball and led all the way to the line, covering the 200 odd Ks fairly quickly.
Yeah, well, first time out for us in the new car. It went quite well. This morning we were lost and riding up and down the riverbed, but eventually managed to find the route, and we came in first. I think today we had less hassles than anybody else. Obviously we drove with a back rear puncture for quite a while. We couldn't figure out what was wrong with the car. Thought something was wrong and stopped to check out, and lucky for us it was just a puncture.
And indeed, even with the stop, they got a solid gap over Kes and Chekledi, who clocked up their finish.
There were some very interesting episodes, like some animals passing by, and Sándor was really amused to see a group of cows just passing, and one just turned back when he thought he could pass it, and he was frightened for a while, and they had interesting episodes during the section.
Vehicle and asset finance from ABSA, going the extra mile to